The supreme leader of the Orthobros is a Russian Orthodox walking clown emoji named Dyer.
Yeah. Father Deacon Ananias makes a good point in the chat here. He says you don't pull out $100 bills. That's true in your 2v2 with Dr. Dougherty.
It's not?
Okay.
What are you doing?
$1,000. I'll give you $100 right now in escrow if you can make a syllogism. What state are you in, Jay? Jay, what state are you in?
I'm not doxing myself to your idiot ass. Shut up.
Well, I can't find you by knowing what state you're in. I want to know how far it would be.
You don't need to know anything about me. You don't need to know anything about me.
Would you be
Jay,
willing to travel to Texas?
Jay, I said that we did discuss that.
Travel to Texas?
I'm not meeting you in
Would you be willing to travel to Texas if I paid for it?
No, I'm not going anywhere near your ass. Are you serious?
Do you have any boxing experience or
so you want to
mixed
fight?
martial arts?
Let's not.
I mean, how many times have you been challenged to an actual fight in a supposedly gentlemanly debate?
Actually, more than you would expect. I've been punched in debates, so Father Deacon was there for that.
When did you get punched in a debate? Do you want to share the story? Or?
I don't. That's a funny at a monastery.
What happened?
So the first Sophia conference was that I went to was 2019, I think. And at that time, it was at the Holy Angels Monastery in San Antonio. And so Dr. Bradshaw, I think, was there, and Father Hans was there, FDA was there, a bunch of people I don't remember were there. And there was a certain ethics professor that was there. I didn't know this guy. It's the first time I met him. And we were just conversing. You know, we'd all arrived. We're all sort of newly there, kind of in the mess hall, so to speak, where everybody eats. And we were just all sort of sitting around chatting. And I said something. Yeah, I'm going to be presenting a paper I wrote on tag, some years ago, blah, blah, blah. And this person took issue with the idea that you could do a tag argument. Well, I'm here to present that paper. I think you can. This got more and more heated, more and more escalation. This guy said, you had better leave my presence or you will regret it. I said, I will not leave your presence because you're not going to do anything. And that escalated even further. And so what happened was I did decide I would turn and not engage in this. But as I turned, and this guy had all of his professor book bag stuff on his arm, he decided to go for a punch, but it missed. And so it was more like it hit me back here. And it was a push punch. So he push punched me, but he was like a big kind of Viking-ish beer belly dude. So he push punched me and I went tumbling over a fold out table. I was kind of shocked. I was like, what the heck just happened? I got punched at a monastery at a philosophy conference.
Yeah, I don't think many people can say that.
True story. I won't say the person because we did end up he did apologize the next day. So I was this close to just leaving. And Father Hans was like, just let it go. And guys are good like this. Guys can, punch each other and then be like, all right, we're cool. So all is forgiven. I don't have any anger towards that guy. We had a great conversation the next night when he apologized. Everything's cool. So, but it is a funny story. And then I think that guy wanted to, but there have been several. So Bryson Gray wanted to do MMA match. Brent Doherty said he wanted to fight, and then somebody else wanted to fight. I don't remember who, but I mean, to me, that's just silly because who's actually gonna? I'm not an MMA guy. I would probably get my ass beat. So you're probably gonna beat me up, but if you try to fight me, I would probably am winning the debate. So
there you go. One of the cross exams I enjoyed the most was, of course, Tim Gordon. You had 3 debates back to back in the same night, but when you were talking about the portion when you were discussing the filioque, I counted, and I don't remember the number.
Oh, I remember you counting. That was funny.
Yes, you asked him, who does the spirit spirate for like
And
40 times or something.
I didn't realize in the midst of asking that for him, spiration doesn't mean what we mean. So like when he would say the spirit spirates, for us, that's causal.
Right.
So the Father as the cause, right, is the cause of the generation of the Son. And so if the spirit is spirating, who is he causing? What does that mean? So for him, they have this scholastic weird idea of passive spiration, which is I don't even know what that is, but it's not Cappadocian. It's not, Constantinople 1. So it's just nonsense. But yeah, I remember after watching your stream where you counted all of that, I finally realized, I was like, so he just doesn't even think of it causally. It's like some other thing. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I think that like that whole scholastic notion of the Trinity, right, is flawed at its very basis, because they put like nature and essence ahead of person, where for us it begins with the person of the Father.
Yeah, it just ends up being essentially a philosophical formulation.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we don't have philosophical formulations. I'm saying that it begins with this philosophical formulation and metaphysical dogma. And I think for us, the metaphysical dogma is conditioned by divine revelation. For them, the metaphysical dogma conditions the divine revelation.
Right. Okay, so I did also want to mention, wanted to talk a little bit about how there are so many different issues in the culture nowadays, like feminism and wokeism and cultural Marxism, and they're like the result of many different philosophies over a lot of time. But like the reason why I focus the channel a lot on the theology stuff was like, well, first of all, I did the channel in the first place because I got sick and tired of being sent Gavin Ortland videos by like friends and family, and I was like, man, if I could just like to have a concise response to send back to them. And I didn't really see the video, so I was like, I'll make the video then to respond to it. But it kind of grew over time. I got some support from like you and Cleve and these other channels, and like Transfigured Life and those guys, and from the viewers as well. And it's like, well, okay, well, maybe we can make a change in our society a bit. And like the most fundamental part of your worldview, I think, that affects like how you see these political issues or social issues is your theology. And like everything is kind of downstream from that. I know you've talked about that a bit because we see like the great work that the Wilsons are doing and like exposing how ridiculous these feminist ideas are. You debated what's that lady's name?
Erudite.
Girl. Yeah, not so erudite. And Jim Bob as well has been debating a lot of like evolutionists. But really, it's like it seems like they have their theology wrong, or they're not sure about it. So of course they're going to fall for any gimmick that society gives them, right? So if you could talk a bit about that.
Well, one recent theme that keeps emerging across various podcasts that might seem to be disconnected, but end up providentially kind of being connected, is this idea that everybody's worldview is fundamentally religious. And this is something that I didn't exactly expect Tucker to bring up, but he did. Towards the second half, he makes this point that even the atheists and the occultists and the secularists really have religious commitments. When I debated the agnostic philosophy guy the other day on Modern Day Debate, that ended up being the whole theme of that debate was, you're just making reason do the things that God does in my worldview. So you're still having a fundamentally religious commitment. And that's what I was trying to illustrate with continually asking him of why he's appealing to universal principles when he admittedly doesn't know that there are or could be any universals. So, and then the series that we just finished, the 5th episode of with Pavel Shalin, the Russian Pajot, that has also ended up being the theme of critiquing classical liberalism and the Enlightenment to think that there's neutrality. So essentially we're getting to this idea that if neutrality is a myth, then that means everything is theory laden. And if everything is theory laden, it's going to be conditioned by your worldview. And you're going to interpret reality through the lens of your basic commitments in epistemology, metaphysics, and ethics. So and that's the essence of that paradigm shift that you hinted at earlier with like boomer evangelical evidentialism, the way Roman Catholics and Thomists think, like, and again, this is to credit, and again, I'm not a Calvinist, obviously, but to Bahnsen and Van Til's credit, they did accurately note that this is a paradigm shift in thinking. So once you begin to think in this way, you really don't go back to not thinking this way, because
you can't unsee it.
It makes so much more sense. It's like the "they live" glasses when, you know, Roddy Piper puts the "they live" glasses on. You couldn't go back to the idea that, you know, oh, it's just self-evident that, you know, this or that. So, you know, over and over and over, this gets sort of, this is re-emerging, I think, as the philosophical red pill, so to speak, that everybody's beginning to realize. And I think this even underlies the critique that you see, you know, Rachel or Andrew doing with internal critiques of the liberal positions that they're usually arguing against. If it's me arguing against, you know, an atheist or whatever, or even when I debated Trent Horn, you know, our natural theology debate was actually about this whole principle that natural theology is kind of predicated on the notion that there's all these self-evident principles that we all agree on, and then thus we'll build the theology and the position on all of that. And even the Ibarra debate, right? If you go back to when I had that impromptu Ibarra debate, his whole approach was, you know, Jay, let me stack all of these papal evidences up, and then like won't it eventually tip the scales over if I put enough up there? And it's like, I'm arguing against the whole paradigm. So I'm arguing about the fundamental assumptions of papism. And if there's one dogmatic contradiction, it doesn't matter how many evidences you pile up, because this is the scale itself. This is not all these evidences. I'm going to rip the whole scale out from under you, not let you have these evidences.
That's what I was like. What you're building is the lens through which to interpret those evidences in the first place.
And this comes out of not just presuppositional apologetics, but also separate from that. If you study philosophy in undergrad and grad school, you're going to encounter those ideas. You're going to encounter people, for example, in the philosophy of science, you're going to deal with Thomas Kuhn's Structure of Scientific Revolutions. One of the most famous books in the history of philosophy, probably the most famous in philosophy of science, is this idea that, well, now, wait a minute, if things were actually neutral, then all of the scientists would have immediately jumped on the true position once there was a scientific revolution. But he shows that, no, it actually took a really long time, because people don't just accept things on the basis of facts and evidences. In fact, they have pre-commitments that they don't want to give up. That's part of human nature. So really the whole project of neutrality and brute factuality is just self-absurd. It's kind of silly. And it's so philosophically kind of childish when you think about it. And that's why so many of the people that want to defend it, they end up just like, well, but look, it's common sense. They just appeal to these like sort of generic things that it's like, I mean, you're a philosophy.
I think your debate with JR was kind of like that.
With who?
JR.
Who?
I think he's like the French sounding, or I'm sorry, it was J something. I'm forgetting. It was one of the agnostic. It was a long time ago. Agnosticism. Let me pull it up. I'm sure the chat will probably get to it faster than.
Oh, JF.
JF, yes.
Oh yeah, no, he was straight up atheist. He was hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, JF.
Yeah, but it's like it's always this like, don't you know that reality is just like reality, Jay?
Oh, you're talking about T-Dump. That was T-Dump's argument was reality is reality. But JF had the same sort of assumptions that well, all we do is just look to science, and science has these established facts that we all agree on, and we start there, and then we just build up from there. And it's like, no. I'm questioning what's prior to that, right? That's what the worldview critique is doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like for a lot of people, they can't, like, it's just one little extra step of thinking that they don't want to do. Like, they don't want to go there because they know it like undercuts exactly what they're.
Well, that's why they don't want to
their
deal with any of
worldview
those
is.
arguments, and they'll just say stuff like, "Oh, they're presups. They're retarded. They just
seen
say
that too. Yes,
they just
they're
say God. My argument's God is, therefore God is." It's like that's not at all what we're arguing.
Yeah, but like now because they don't know how to deal with it. I have seen that a few times now where they're like, "Oh, we're not doing presup in this debate." I'm like, what are you talking about?
I've seen a bunch
You can challenge my presuppositions, and I can't challenge yours. Like what?
For example, Destiny explicitly says, "I will not debate anybody tag or presup." He just says, "No, I won't."
Sounds like a concession to me. They don't know how to deal with it.
Not that I'm eager to debate Destiny. I think that dude's a goblin, but